When I was in high school, I wore reading glasses. Well, actually, I wore bifocals, with the top part being clear glass so that I could read the book or the paper in front of me and still see the chalkboard. I kept doing this right straight through college, and between my first and second year of seminary, I will never forget the day I was admiring my friend's new glasses. They were these really cute blue glasses, and I said, "Can I try those on? I just want to see." So I put them on. Holy cow. I could see the brick wall across the courtyard. I could see the trees. I had no idea that my vision had changed until I put those really cute, stylish glasses on my face. It was simply amazing to be able to see. Imagine being the guy in our Bible story today. You've never seen in your entire life. You can suddenly see. You can see the trees, you can see your parents' faces, you can see your friends, you can see the street where you've been living your whole life, all the things. Now, for those of us who have the gift of sight, we can't even quite wrap our minds around that. But if we dig a little deeper, this story is not actually about literally seeing. It's about more than that. It's about the figurative seeing that happens here. First, Jesus sees this blind man. He is someone that no one noticed. No one saw him. He would sit off at the side of the road. He would beg for some food. People would walk past, not even notice he was there. But Jesus sees him. And then the blind man is able to see, right? Something happens, he washes some mud off his eyes, and a miracle happens, and he can see. Allows him to see things he's not seen. But that's not the end of the story. The blind man begins to see Jesus for someone he wants to follow. He's not just the cool guy who fixed his eyes somehow, but he's someone that this man wants to follow. Do we see Jesus in that way? As someone to follow? Well, to some extent we probably do because you're here, right? But do we really see him? Do we really do what Jesus asks us to do? This week, my email was full of some things happening. One that caught my attention is what's happening to our transgender siblings. Our National United Church of Christ shared this word. We are in the midst of a pivotal moment in our shared story. The well-being of transgender and non-binary youth is being debated in legislative sessions across the United States. And as of March 3rd, there have been 385 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced, with 108 of them aiming to end gender-affirming health care for trans and non-binary folk. This places more than 54,000 trans youth actively taking life-saving, gender-affirming medical care at risk. Our national leaders continued, "It is critical that we name the horrific nature of these policies for what they are: violent attempts to disrupt God's creation in bloom. Trans youth are sacred members of our collective kingdom. Now, more than ever, trans youth need us." Friends, our national leaders see our trans siblings. The question is, do we see them? And once we see our trans siblings, do we turn our seeing into action? I don't know. We can also ask the question, do we see the racism around us? Some quilters in New Hampshire began to see. They took their passion for quilting and began to create quilts to shine a light. 9 UCC congregations had women come together in New Hampshire in the days following the murder of George Floyd, and Sacred Ally Quilts documents the painful experience of his death at the hands of police in May 2020. They created 10 quilts to capture Floyd's last words, to offer it as a visible symbol, a graphic reminder of the need for racial justice. In reflecting on this display, the conference minister, the Reverend David Long Higgins of the Heartland Conference, wonders, how can we form an anti-racist world? Friends, some in our United Church of Christ see. Do we see? And do we turn our seeing into action as we work for an anti-racist world? Now, these are just 2 examples that are hard, because it's painful for us to examine our own blindness. It's hard to name those places where we intentionally turn a blind eye, because it's hard. But Jesus calls us to do just that. He saw a blind man that day. He brought sight to someone that everybody else had turned a blind eye to. And in so doing, he angered the leaders of the day. They were grumbling, as our story put it. They were not happy with what he was doing. Following Jesus is not as easy as a game of follow the leader. It involves guts. It involves struggle. It means being uncomfortable and challenging things we think we know. And sometimes we get to follow Jesus in rest, in the still waters, in the green pastures, take a little breather. And sometimes we follow Jesus to the hard work of justice. Friends, when we follow Jesus, we put on our Jesus glasses and we start to really see the world around us. We start to really see the world that Jesus calls us to notice, to see. And once we see, we then begin to act. And we are invited into this game of follow the leader Jesus. It's not easy, but we are called to do it. Thanks be to God.